Hello, my name is Annette Cam. I just want to thank you for taking the quiz, just taking the time to, to take the quiz on what is your number one fear when a loved one passes or is about to pass. I understand you probably took the quiz because you are concerned about what needs to be done when these things happen. Do I have my affairs in order? Will I ever be ready? Can I be ready? And I'm here to tell you today that you can be ready because I went through the same thing that you are going through or may be going through. First of all, I want to ask you a few questions just to make sure that we are on the same wavelength. Just a few questions to kind of pique your interest, to pique um, your curiosity about, do I really know what's involved if something really happens? So then let me ask you just maybe three or four questions. Number one, if you were to pass away today, would your spouse know how to pay the bills? Does your spouse know how to balance a checkbook? Do your spouse know how the bills are paid? If they are paid by check, if they're paid by auto payment, which bills are paid monthly, which bills are paid twice a year, which bills are paid yearly? Are they able to handle that? Have they ever balanced a checkbook before? Do they know what your bank accounts are and where they're located and the numbers of the bank accounts? Okay, that's question number one. If you're able to answer that, or your spouse is able to answer that, excellent. That is you're at least partway in the game. Okay. Now the second question is, if your spouse were to pass away and all the computer files were in his computer, do you know the password? That's a kind of a rough thing that nobody ever really thinks about, right? Okay, let's go on to the third question. If your spouse were to pass today and you got his keychain with all these keys on top, and I assume there's more than two keys. Normally there's a house key and a automobile key. What about the other half a dozen keys that are on there? Do you know what they are for? What do they open? Are they for his business? Are they for a safety deposit box? Is it for a storage unit that you folks may have? Are the keys labeled so that you know exactly what they open? And I'm talking to you through experience because when my when I went through what I went through, my father-in-law had passed away and had shown us everything, where everything was, where the key was actually to open up the secret safe. And 16 years after he educated us, we he passed away, and I got the key, or what I thought was a key, and on this keychain were probably about 20 keys, and I was just so frustrated because I had to take the time to figure out which key opened up the secret safe that he had. So that's why I'm asking you these questions, because it's important that you understand what you really don't know, because that's the whole purpose of today's video that I'm telling you about. I want to show you that no matter how we think we are ready, there's a lot of things we are not ready for. Okay. Um, let's see. Let's go one more question. If your spouse were to die today, would you know where the motor vehicle certificate of registration is? And can you find it? Do you know where the location is? Do you know if the automobile is in both of your names or just his name? If it's in only his name, how are you going to sell the car? So I hope that these questions have made you realize that, wow, there's a lot of things I really don't know. And that's what I want to go over in this short video with you. Before we go on, however, I want to go over the quiz results with you, because you're probably wondering what did all this, that category that I fell into, what does it mean? There were three categories, and I want to go over briefly all three categories because they're very similar, and I believe everybody falls into at least one of these three categories. Okay, the first category is called KB, or what I call the knowledge blocker. What is this? It means that when you're faced with the passing of a loved one, you have what we call knowledge blocker, which means you don't know what to do because you don't know, you've never lived, you never experienced this, you don't have knowledge of what's expected of you until it happens. Nobody has ever taught you, nobody has ever warned you. So this is what we call a knowledge blocker. And I think today, by the end of this video, you will have a better feeling about having more knowledge. Okay, now the second category is called GB, or what I call the go blocker. Normally when you go through a passing of a loved one, you want to be able to move forward. I mean, that's the whole purpose, is to get past the grief and to move forward. However, when you have a go blocker, what happens is that you're avoiding it. You don't want to even think about the time that this is going to happen. You totally shut down and just shut it out and hope that nothing happens, or hope that you go before your spouse goes. Am I correct? Okay. Now, the third category is what we call a GLB, or glow blocker. When I talk about glow, I'm talking about having joy in life. When you go through the stress of having a loved one pass, you have all your joy or your glow taken away. And you don't know what to do because you're depressed, you're anxious, you just don't know where to turn, and you just want to curl up and just disappear because it's just overwhelming you. So this anxiety sets in. Okay, so those are the categories that you may fall into, or you probably will fall into each of the three categories. Okay, because you have lack of knowledge, you feel you feel paralyzed because you can't move forward because you don't know what to do, and your joy is taken away. I believe we all fall into those categories. But what I have today is I want to show you, I want to tell you my story and let you know how you can get over these humps, these challenges, should they happen to you, and they will happen to you. It's just a matter of time. Okay, let me just tell you my story. Back in 2018, my father-in-law, who was 99 years old, suddenly passed away. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I thought things were in order. He had a will, a trust, a power of attorney, advance directives, the funeral plan. He had all his paperwork all in this one safe that he told us about. He showed us where the key was. He told us where to find the safe, and we felt pretty prepared. Well, let me tell you that that is a myth. Your financial counselors or your insurance people give you a little pamphlet with all these things to fill up with your bank account numbers, your insurance, and you think that once you fill this up and you got all your paperwork in order with your attorney, you think I'm in good shape and my spouse can take over or my kids can take over. But that is totally, totally not true. When my father-in-law passed away, he had all his paperwork. He was 99 years old. His checkbook was balanced to the penny. I mean, he had two checkbooks. They're balanced to the penny at age 99. Over the next 2 years, what I thought would be simple was simply not. Basically, when he passed away, my mother-in-law had never written a check in her life, had never done the finances. He had done everything. And she had no clue what to do. She was 89 years old. And I remember her words saying, "You handled everything." And what could I say? I mean, she was 89. What did you tell your mother-in-law? Of course, I stepped in and tried to handle what I could, and I thought I could. But over the next 2 years, I found myself totally, totally stressed out because of things that I wish I had known. Every time I came across a challenge, I kept saying, "I wish I had known. I wish I had known. I wish somebody had warned me. Why didn't somebody teach us these things? Why are we not told about these things?" For example, I want to tell you about a story where when my father-in-law passed away, 10 days after he passed, my mother-in-law's phone, her landline, which was the only communication she had with us, her phone broke. Simple. All you do is call the telephone company and they'll come out and fix it, right? Not so. What happened is, because she was not on the bill as a secondary payer, The telephone company said she had no authority to have the phone fixed, and that we would have to send them my father-in-law's death certificate before they could fix the phone. Now, this is 10 days after he passed away. We had barely met the funeral home. We had barely ordered the death certificate, which would take about 4 more weeks to come. And that was unacceptable to have a phone broken for 4 weeks because we didn't have his death certificate and she was not on the bill. So this little challenge took me, and this is the honest truth, took me 29 phone calls and getting the Better Business Bureau involved. Just because of one little thing that could have been done, just adding her on to the utility bill. So these are some of the challenges I went through. I found out that his home had no homeowners insurance policy on it for 2 years. Uh, there were so many things I can't even begin to tell you what I learned in over the next 2 years. So what I did was I started jotting down things in a college rule notebook, and I listed all these things that I wish I had known. I wish I had known. And what I did during this time was I made a list and I gave it to friends who were going through the same thing as I was. We are baby boomers and our parents were getting older or passing, or their spouses were getting sick and were afraid they're going to pass. So I gave them this, just a rough draft of this list that I had made out when I was going through all of this. And every single one of them told me that this list is so important that everybody should have it and that I should write a book. So last year in 2020, that is exactly what I did. I wrote a book called Wait, Don't Die Yet. This is a book that I want you to pay attention to because this book, I can honestly believe, will change your lives and will get you prepared for whatever you need to face in the future or now if you're going through it now. Let me read you the subtitle of the book. The title is Wait, Don't Die Yet, and it's a complete guide to all things no one really wants to think about, but everyone needs to know before, during, and after a loved one's passing. So this book is an incredible resource. I listed, well, the book has my story in it, which is the beginning part of the book, and that leads into the guidebook, which is at the end of the book. This is actually about the last third of the book. I'm not sure if you can see this, but you just fill in the blanks, and everything that you need to know about the process, all the phases of going through a loved one passing is in here. Now, it encompasses before, meaning before anything happens, there's a section to fill out so that you list everything that you can that I went through. It includes the basic things like bank accounts and emergency contact numbers, retirement funds, stocks, stuff like that. You can list them all, rental properties. But in addition to that, I also have a section on your medical history. So, for example, if your spouse were to end up in the hospital tonight and they need a list of his medications, would you know exactly the name of the medication, the dosage, how many milligrams, how often is it taken, what is it taken for, and who his doctor is and who prescribed it, and what the doctor's phone number is? Well, that is all in here. Okay, so that's the beauty of this book. Now that's the before time, preparing ahead of time. And then you'll hit a time when your spouse or your parents get sick and you're going to wonder, what am I supposed to do now? And this book helps you transition through that period. There's another section to fill out as you go through it. And it'll tell you, for example, how to find a good caregiver, to find a skilled nursing facility. What are you looking for? You know, most people, when they look for a facility for their loved one, if you're going to put them in a facility, most people will think about safety. Is it clean? Are the people qualified? Are they friendly? That's your main things that people think of. Well, this book encompasses interviews with caregivers who actually did caregiving and hints that they give to make life easier when you're searching for a caregiver or when you're caregiving yourself. For example, when you're looking for a caregiver, aside from being a clean place and nice people, what about, are they going to be eating the food that they love? My mother-in-law ended up in a care home, a residential care home. And what I was so thankful for was that her caregiver made sure that she had her favorite foods at least once a week. Her favorite foods, I'm ashamed to even admit this, was Coke, Taco Bell, Burger King Whoppers, and sushi. So as long as she had at least one of those once a week, she was a happy camper. And she was very happy where she was. But these are things that you do not think about when you're looking for a caregiver. Okay. Now, another section of the book is on communication because this is such a topic that is so sensitive. People are afraid to address it with their spouses or with their parents because what kind of reaction would you get? Why the reaction would be, why are you asking me these questions? Because I'm not ready to die yet. You think I'm going to die? So this is a way. This chapter on communication will kind of cover on how to approach the other person, to approach them gently and how to make it so it doesn't sound so intimidating or make it sound like they're going to pass away soon. Okay, so that's a part of communication. In there, I also have a file system on how to set up a good file system. And the reason for that is you can have all your paperwork, but if you don't have a file system, how are people going to know where it is? What I like to do is I like to have people, fill out this book. It's not, it's only about a third of the book is a guidebook that you would fill out. And once you fill it out, I mean, I'm telling you, you're going to have such a peace of mind. And all I do is I tell them, get this book, put it in whatever file you're going to put it in, and just tell whoever your beneficiary is, look for this book. Everything you need to know is in this book. Now, this book is just dear to my heart. I wrote it with with money that my in-laws left us because I felt that it was that important and it's a legacy to them that I wrote this book so that no one ever has to worry about going through what I went through. I mean, what I just touched on today is just the tip of the iceberg. This my story is a backdrop for the guidebook. So when you go to the guidebook, you will know why I included certain things. What to look for, just to be sure things are in order. Um, it's a comprehensive guidebook, and I believe it is the most complete book on the market today that will take you through every step of the way. Not just preparing before, but take you through every step up until they pass away, or your spouse or your parents pass away. That's the after. And then there's a section on after the after, which is when both parents pass away and the kids have to figure out what to do, how to have closure, how to how do you clean up 70 years of accumulated things that are left in the home before you can sell it or do whatever you want with it. You know, how do you even begin to think about, oh my gosh, all these photo albums, all these jelly jars and mayonnaise jars and paint cans that they saved in the garage. You know, these are the things that is addressed in the book, but it's also to make the person who will eventually pass prepare their children so that things are done so that they don't leave all these things left for the children to handle, because somebody is going to have to handle it, and it's probably someone who is very close to you, and the last thing you want to do is leave them with a burden of what to do with their things, how to find things that you never told them about. These are so important. So I hope that you are convinced today that this book will and can change your life. Um, I have so many reviews on Amazon from, they're total strangers that are giving the review of how this book has changed their lives, how they now have peace of mind because they took the time to do the guidebook, and they're just so thankful. I know this because not only are they writing a review, but I'm getting emails from people I don't even know. My email is in the book, and they're just telling me how helpful it's been, and it's been such a godsend, a gift from God, basically. So take the time today, go to the link that's down below, and click on the link, and that'll take you straight to Amazon to this book. What I'd like for you to do is, if you are even hesitating about getting this book, I want you to read the reviews, because I think you will be convinced that this book is probably one of the most important books you may ever read and fill up. So click click the link and just go there and be be at peace when you have to go through all this, because I can promise you it will give you peace that you so need. Okay, so have a good day and God bless you, and thank you for listening, and I pray that you will take advantage of this. And if you feel like it's helped you, please email me or please write a review at Amazon, because that's the only way that people will learn about this important book. Thank you so much. God bless you.